This is Phil Sherb from Ely in Cambridgeshire in the United Kingdom, and I play at Ely City Golf Club. This is Golf Smarter, episode 976.
I was in Oregon last week doing a training. Like, you can spit off in 15 seconds what it is, and you just have a couple catchwords for them, like welcome mat, like something that they understand. And then they're like, oh, okay, you're just like karate. We're like, yeah. Levels, move them through. Everybody starts at white belt. And the days of like explaining a lot to people, at least in my experience, are so far gone. It's like, if you don't have something good to say in 20 or 30 seconds, they're going to tune you out. And if you want to survive, you got to be good at your 15, 20-second elevator pitch. A turning point for us was when we changed our name. We used to have a really long name that didn't make any sense. And then we went to another name that didn't make any sense, and another name that didn't make any sense. And our fourth name, Operation 36, I remember pitching it to a couple members at the course to see if they understood what it was. And they're like, oh, okay, so you're on a operation to try to shoot 36, and you start close and you move back. That makes sense. And when the member repeated that back, I was like, all right, we got a name.
The welcome mat to golf for beginners of any age. Operation 36 with founder Ryan Dailey.
This is Golf Smarter. Sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Ryan.
Hello, Fred.
How are you?
I'm great. Another great day in North Carolina.
How often? It's just kind of a given, isn't it? Another great day in North Carolina.
It's the place to be if you love golf.
Well, a couple episodes ago, I was having a conversation with Joel Suggs, master PGA instructor, and Operation 36 came up, and I'm like, wait, what's Operation 36? And it's a great way. And it's like, all right, I gotta have that guy on the show. So he introduced us, and here we are. I'm so excited to hear about Operation 36. Why don't you give me your, not even an elevator pitch, just give me the overview of what it is and how you got it started.
Sure. So myself and Matt Reagan, another PGA professional, started in 2010 together working on this. There's a pretty long backstory. We don't have to go into a ton of it on why we started, how we started, but we had a goal of bringing kids to the golf course at a golf course that didn't have a lot of people using it at the time, right after the real estate recession. And we pitched an idea to the president of the university. The president of the university approved it. We started with 3 kids, I think, in the program. We had 20 parents in front of us at the golf course. We pitched what we were going to do, and basically what it was gymnastics or karate for golf. We were just bringing them out every Monday. At the time, there wasn't really a consistent junior golf program that ran throughout the year. Back in 2010, the main thing was like summer camps. So like if you had a son or a grandson and you wanted to get them into the game, you'd bring them to a summer camp. And the only other option was to take a private lesson with a PGA Pro. And those two options didn't seem to do as well as what other sports were doing. So we borrowed some concepts from them to get started, and then got really frustrated after our 4th or 5th year doing it because we had a ton of kids coming. We had like 80 kids coming once a week, not all at the same time, at different class times for 8 months out of the year. But nobody was really like fallen in love with playing the game of golf. Like they would come because their parents brought them, but it was like pulling teeth to get them to really like enjoy the aspects of golf that really hooked us. And for me in particular, it was the walking outside. It was trying different clubs. It was hitting the ball in the hole and listening to that sound. Like I think about that when I was a kid, and those things really resonated with me. Playing with the older men at the golf course was really fun for me to learn from them. And there wasn't a great avenue in our area to do that. And we certainly, after 4 or 5 years, didn't do very well at that either. So we had to retool everything we did to figure out, instead of taking them on the driving range as their first experience in the game of golf and teaching them the grip and teaching them how to stand, which is not fun for anybody, even the golf pro, it's not very fun because nobody's getting it in the air. We said, why don't we put them on the golf course first and see what happens. And we did. We put them on the tee box, and that was extremely frustrating. Beginner golfers from the tee box taking 12 strokes to get it in the hole. So then after a year of frustration of that, we said, well, what if we started them like basketball, start with a layup instead of starting with a three-pointer? Because we were basically starting a three-pointer at the tee box. So we started them 25 yards away from the hole. We said after a while of trial and error, we said every hole was a par 4. If you make a 3, it's your first birdie ever. If you make it 2, it's an eagle. And why don't we throw a number around? Okay, 36. Let's see if you could shoot 36 for 9 holes. And trying that for 4 or 5 years up until right before COVID was really successful. And when I say successful, meaning folks fell in love with playing the game. And when we weren't there teaching class, they were there with mom and dad playing. And we knew we had something that worked because it wasn't just because they were signed up for a class. They were coming out when there wasn't a class. So I don't know if anything we do is like rocket science. A lot of it is just we tested things that didn't work, got really frustrated and didn't give up, which we could have given up. And we tried something else and tried something else and tried something else, and it ended up working. And then other coaches in the state of North Carolina started contacting us because they wanted to do what we do. And making a long story significantly shorter, there's now 800 facilities in 15 different countries. And there's like 12 or 1,400 coaches running Op 36 throughout the world. And like some great stories of kids and now adults that do Op 36 where the biggest skill that they learn, Fred, is like you go out and you shoot a 45 and you figure out how to deal with disappointment, deal with not reaching the goal, which is the whole point of the program. The point of the program is not to beat 36 in your first try. The point of the program is to go out and not beat 36 and challenge yourself. I can get better. And that's really why Op 36 works, because people look in the mirror and they say, I can do this. I can get one stroke better. And then they do it with the help of a professional at their facility during their practices or with mom and dad. And we're trying to compete with video games. It's not easy.
No.
At all. So we just try to go for like small wins. And if we can get players to get one stroke better every couple weeks, that's our best chance to try to compete with video games.
Have you ever tried to develop an Operation 36 video game?
We have gone down that path twice. We haven't gotten to the finish line yet. We do have an app that people use in Op 36 where they take their lessons online. They can watch videos of different parts of the curriculum. There's a pretty cool GPS on there where if you went out to the course with me and let's say you were playing from 25 yards, you and I would walk out to 25 yards. It would buzz and say, hey, drop your ball here. And it'll tell you exactly where to drop it on the course.
Nice. But
we've been down the video game route twice. For whatever reason, we haven't finished the journey yet. Maybe we'll be starting it again. I'm not sure. That's a pretty big animal to tackle.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But you want people out on the golf course. You don't want to keep them out in the video game, right?
Correct. 100%. Yeah. And at the majority of our facilities, we're starting to run into, if you were to ask me, like, what's the biggest challenge right now? Like, there's so many people at the golf course where they're running Op 36 now. We're dealing with the golf course being too crowded, which if we rewind to 2010, right after the recession, that would be a problem all of us would have been excited to have because nobody was using the golf course at that time. Not nobody, but significantly less than now.
Yeah. And what about since COVID when golf exploded? What happened with Op 36 then?
Our participation rates skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Because we're a beginner golf program and there were a lot of folks who had never played golf before and they wanted to get started in the game of golf. And we just happened to have the right marketing at the right time. And when people plugged online into Google, it says, I want to learn how to play golf. I'm a beginner golfer. Op 36 popped up. And by that point, we had 500 or 600 facilities. And we just kept getting notes from our coaches. Hey, Ryan, we're full. You can't send any more people to us. We're full.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's participation rates have grown steadily from COVID as well. So it's an interesting industry challenge that we have now is that
And it's continuing to climb?
Yes, I think we were up 12,000 enrollments this year from last year, something like that. So it's,
That's phenomenal.
It's great. It's when we get in conversations with like industry leading companies and organizations like USGA, Golf Course Owners Association. It's like, guys, we probably need to at some point build golf courses to start keeping up with this demand. But then they're like, and they go through the litany of things that make it a challenge to continue to build more golf courses. So then it goes to the indoor question, right? Indoor golf and the industry's in an interesting spot, a good spot, very healthy, a lot of participation. Equipment sales are higher than they've ever been. It'll be really interesting to see what happens to golf in the next 15 or 20 years with this much demand.
You mentioned earlier you spoke to the president of the university.
Mm-hmm.
And which university, and were you intending to create a curriculum?
So I worked at Campbell University, like the soup, Campbell's tomato soup, Campbell University, and we're just south of Raleigh, North Carolina. And in 2010, we were called into a meeting in the basement of the religion building on campus, which typically means you're about to lose your job. And I went down the elevator with my boss and sat in front of the Knights of the Round Table, and they basically said, you need to get people at the golf course or we're going to close our 36-hole facility unless you have an idea of how to get people on the golf course. And as we were riding up the elevator after the meeting, my boss turned to me and said, hey, do you have any ideas? And I said, yeah, I kind of do. I've been working on this idea for quite some time. I just had my first child in 2009, and if you allow me to put this proposal together, I'd love to give it a shot. And I put together like a 40-something page proposal, put it on his desk, and it sat for 6 to 9 months, something like that. And then the president came down the hallway at one point and went into my boss's office. After he left, my boss came down and said, hey, you know that idea you had? I need you to try it.
Wow.
So that's how it started. Awesome. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. I was working full-time for the university as a faculty member. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed one of my students to help me, Matt Reagan. I think he was a sophomore or junior at the time. And we just went at it. The nice thing is we were very lucky that neither of us had to make money. He was a college student. I already had a job. And if somebody asked what were some of the lucky things that happened to keep this going, that was probably number one. Because every time that we made like $5,000, we'd put it right back into the business. Make $5,000, put it back into the business. And we did that for, I don't think we took a paycheck for 6 years, 7 years, something like that.
Wow. Well, at least you had that option that you could.
Oh, 100%. And I think if we had to make money and it was all about the money, we never would have survived. But it was more about the pursuit of solving a problem was so intriguing to us. It was so interesting to us. And every time that we ran up against a roadblock, it kind of got more exciting because it was like, oh, so you're going to throw that at us. Let's figure this out. And that's kind of our mindset early on was very good. It was very fresh. It was very exciting. And that got us through the first 5, 6, 7 years. And now we've been at it for 15 years, almost 15 years we've been doing this. So
wow. It reminds me of, I was John Madden's recording engineer for a number of years. And he always used to say, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the wagon. Right? And you are a perfect example of that. It's like, okay, if you have this challenge, do you quit or you go around it and you just barrel through it? And you seem to have successfully done that. And you're very lucky because you didn't need to make that money. You can put it back into the business, where some people will, come up with a new tee and leave everything else behind thinking that they can make a living on creating a new tee. And so congratulations on that.
Thank you, Fred. I appreciate it. This was John Madden, the football guy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was amazing. Anyway, have you had, let me ask you about, you said you were a faculty member at this university?
Mm-hmm.
Teaching golf?
I was, yeah. So there was 16 universities around the U.S. that had PGA golf management programs.
Oh, okay, golf management, sure.
Yep, where high school students can enroll, they can get a business degree, and then their major would be PGA golf management, and they could graduate with their Class A PGA card. And when I graduated, I tried to play professional golf for a couple of years, figured out that wasn't for me. I wasn't good enough. And then I taught for a while in Texas. And then when I came back to North Carolina, who was my boss called me up and said, "Hey, would you like a job?" And I was like, "I'm still trying to play. I'm still trying to teach." She's like, "Ryan, you probably need to start settling down." And I was like, "Okay." So then in 2007, I started at the university. Loved it. Loved teaching. Loved being in the classroom. Loved being around the younger students. It kept me young. Being around a college campus is fantastic. There's a ton of amenities, football teams, basketball teams. But I just kept being drawn kind of towards the end to running this program, and felt like there was some need in the industry that if we kind of let this thing fizzle out, probably not the best decision. So that was a tough call going in and, saying, "Hey, I think I'm going to move on from this job that I really enjoy, that I love the students." But in 2016, it was time to walk away and do full time, and certainly miss teaching at the university level, but you can't have everything. So you move on.
Yes, you do. You must move on. Is your program compete with the First Tee program? Or is it a complement?
We are a little bit different than the First Tee, and there's some First Tee locations that run Op 36. So
okay.
I wouldn't say that we're competitors. The First Tee does an unbelievably good job of teaching the life skills and getting folks to try golf and go through their curriculum. Do they get them on the golf course as much as they would like? No, and they would admit to that, and that's why they reach out to us for help in getting people on the golf course. A good way to view this is like Op 36 is the welcome mat to the game of golf. And then after somebody gets somewhat proficient at playing the game, they could shoot 36 from maybe, let's say, our first 3 or 4 levels. Step 2 would be PGA Junior League. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's a PGA of America program. They do a wonderful job at over 2,500 locations around the country, where you're in a 2-person team, 2 or 3-person team. You have uniforms on and you compete at different golf courses around your area. And then step 3 in our kind of roadmap, Op 36 PGA Junior League would be like your high school team or a local junior tour, like a U.S. Kids Golf Tour type thing. And that's what we try to explain to parents, is that I wouldn't try all of them at once. I would start with Op 36, get your feet wet, get comfortable at a local program with your golf pro with their arm around you, helping you, then go to Junior League, and then go to the next step.
Interesting. Have you been approached by sponsors, big name golf companies saying, "We'd like to associate our name with this"? Can we, whether it be U.S. Kids Club or Callaway or, something Titleist, put their name, and if they approached you, would you be open to that?
We have not been approached by an equipment company officially. Unofficially, we have a couple times. And we are also in the process of coming out with a solution in the equipment space with a manufacturer. So that hopefully is going to continue to move down to the finish line. Our biggest person that had reached out to us would be Rory McIlroy. Recently reached out and did a spot for us on the Golf Channel on Golf Pass. And he did I think it was 5 segments with Lauren Thompson from the Golf Channel on starting the game of golf using Op 36. And Rory has a daughter that he's trying to get into the game of golf. And I think when he saw Op 36, he saw some of our metrics. Like it's pretty cool. I can see, all of us at Op 36 can see, of the 200,000 people around the world doing Op 36, you can see demographics, you can see ages, you can see scores. And our demographics are very girl-friendly, lady-friendly for adults. So I think when Rory started to hear about that, he was like, man, this is a great way to get my daughter involved. And it was great to meet him and watch him do his thing on camera back in January in Florida. And that would probably be the biggest one, Fred.
Yeah, that is an incredible endorsement. And it's on your website, operation36.golf is your website, and you can see the Rory video there. And it's wonderful, and it makes it so easy to understand at that point.
They did a wonderful job on production.
They really did. They really did. Yeah. And that's part of the beauty of this program is it's not that difficult to understand. You really have created something that cuts out all the noise.
The explanation and the understanding, as we have learned over the years, has to be spot on. It has to be an A+ if you're going to have a chance to survive. And so everything from our name, Operation 36, to our tagline, to our 20-second elevator pitch, all of that has been refined. Like, I don't even know how many times, what version we're on, but like now when I get in an elevator with somebody, or I was in Oregon last week doing a training, like you can spit off in 15 seconds what it is, and you just have a couple catchwords for them, like welcome, Matt, like something that they understand. And then they're like, oh, okay, you're just like karate. They're like, yeah, levels, move them through. Everybody starts at white belt. And the days of like explaining a lot to people, like at least in my experience, are so far gone. Like nobody wants to listen to more than 20 seconds or 30 seconds. Like if you don't have something good to say in 20 or 30 seconds, like they're going to tune you out. And COVID accelerated that. I know that. I see it with my kids. Like attention spans have shrunk. And if you want to survive, you got to be good at your 15, 20-second elevator pitch. And a turning point for us was when we changed our name. We used to have a really long name that didn't make any sense. And then we went to another name that didn't make any sense, and another name that didn't make any sense. And our fourth name, Operation 36, I remember pitching it to a couple members at the course to see if they understood what it was. And they're like, oh, okay, so you're on a operation to try to shoot 36, and you start close and you move back. That makes sense. And that when the member repeated that back, I was like, all right, we got a name.
Okay, so we left with a cliffhanger. and the obvious question, I hope not just for me, is what were the other names? What did you start out with?
So the first name we had, the best way to visualize this is we used to take paper checks for tuition from parents, and they couldn't fit it on the line. It was so long. It was called North Carolina, the state, North Carolina, long-term athlete development.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so the buzzword...
That's a couple of academics coming up with a name, right?
100%.
It was not creative people.
No, it was not. And I think if you were to ask Matt, I think I kind of voted for that as an academic, right? Because you're trying to make it sound great. But
yeah.
And then to try to put that on a T-shirt or put that on a hat, like that was absolute not a win. And then the next name we did was The Edge, EDGE, The Edge. And the challenge in our local area is that I think there's a plumbing or electrician that's also named like The Edge Plumbing. So it was completely confusing with us.
A famous guitar player, yeah. Right? Wasn't he on U2, guitar player for U2? Is Edge?
Oh, it could be. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. And what did The Edge supposed to mean?
We were trying to appeal to too many things. We were trying to show parents that we would go over nutrition and fitness, that we would go over golf, that we go over athletic skills, and go over something else. So we tried to figure out how could we show them that we were over the edge or up to the edge on training, something like that. It didn't work.
It still doesn't work.
Yeah, it's not great. And then we did. Let's see. So in 2014, 15, 16, the thing was to put the letter I, lowercase I, in front of whatever you did to kind of be like Apple, right?
Apple,
I.
Sure.
So we were I Grow Golf. Grow Golf for a little while, but that didn't make too much sense, especially when we started to expand outside of North Carolina to other states and training other coaches. It just didn't make a lot of sense. So we were, by trial and error, figured out a way to narrow the name down to Operation 36 Golf. And the shtick is that like 200,000 people around the world are on the same operation, the same challenge as you. You're all trying to beat the golf course. You're not trying to beat each other, which that line to moms is super powerful, because the mom who's getting their daughter or son into the game, their biggest fear is that it's going to be too competitive and they're not going to fall in love with the game. So we try as best as we can to say it's not Fred versus Ryan. It's Fred and Ryan versus the golf course. And I want Fred to beat 36 just as much as I want to beat 36. And if Fred beats 36, I'm going to give him a high five because I'm excited for him. And if I do it, he's going to do it for me. So it creates this environment at a golf course, which is pretty cool, where like 20 or 30 people show up every Saturday night to play in a 9-hole event. And it's not ultra competitive. It's more encouraging, might be the better way to say it.
What do you mean every Saturday night? What is that? What did you just throw in there?
So in Op 36 is a program,
right,
that you would sign up for or somebody would sign up for. And in this program, there are two things that you do. One, the coach is going to have a 1-hour class with you, small group class with 5 or 6 people working on short game, working on full swing, whatever the curriculum calls for.
Great.
And then the second thing that coach does is they put on a formal 9-hole event twice a month. So at our golf course here in North Carolina on Saturday night, every other week, we have a 9-hole event where 20 or 30 people come. The golf professional out at the course runs an official 9-hole event. We have scorecards. And if we beat 36 during that official 9-hole event, then we move from level 1 to level 2. So you can't move on in Op 36 playing casually. We have found through testing that when you let folks go out with their grandparents or they go out with their parents, you don't have as much control of the rules, maybe the best way to say it. So when they beat 36, sometimes you're like, did they really beat it? So then we said, all right, it's got to be in a formal 9-hole event that the coach puts on for you to advance through the different levels. Yep.
Okay. So it's not just for kids, though. You have adults who are also being introduced to golf, who are stepping onto that welcome mat. And I love that, by the way. That's probably the name of this episode, is something about the welcome mat. But you have adults being able to participate as well, being introduced to the game?
Yeah, that wasn't our intention, Fred.
Really?
Our intention was the kids, because my son was born. I wanted to have an environment for him to grow up in with other kids. It was like in year 6 or 7, a couple of the moms tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, Ryan, my son loves this. I've never seen him love something before like he loves golf. Can you teach us how to play the game of golf the same way that you're teaching my son? And originally we were like, you know what, we're just a kids organization. We stick with juniors. But then when like 3 moms come up and they say, hey, the 3 of us want to take a class together. Will you please do this for us? And we're like, all right, we'll do the same thing we do with the kids with you. And they loved it. Like they went out and they played on a Saturday night. They shot like a 43 their first time out. They took that scorecard where they shot 43. They brought it home. They showed it to their husband, who can't shoot 43. And they loved it. And they came back next week and they said, Coach, I can't wait to shoot 42, 41, 40. And visualize this, Fred. This is from 25 yards away.
Right.
So they're taking like a pitching wedge and they might chunk it, which is okay. We all do that. They might blade it on the green, and then they might miraculously 2-putt from 10 feet. And they've made their first par ever. We've had people like blade it, hit the pin, goes like a foot away. They knock it in for their first eagle, and they are just ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
So all we've done is just taken this beautiful game of golf and just shrunk it down to this small bite-sized beginning step in hopes, we don't succeed 100% of the time, but in hopes that somebody will enjoy the true joy of golf, which is shooting a number and coming back going, I think I can do better if I practice a little bit more. And then they practice a little bit more. They shoot a 39. The day they shoot 36, they're super excited. But the cool part is once they beat 36, they know that the next goal is to go back. Yardage makes the golf course harder, so they go back to 50 yards and they try to do it again. And then 100 yards, and they keep going back. And we've had some people go all the way back to the back tees at the course, 3,500 yards. And they've been in the program for 7, 8, 9 years, just continuing to work back to the tee box at the golf course.
You know, I'm thinking about my wife who doesn't play golf because she keeps saying, I don't care about putting a ball in the hole. You know, it's like, because she's not competitive in that way. But I can see her getting excited about, but I got a par from 25 yards, because then it's like within her skill set, right? I mean, like she goes, I'll play 9 holes with you. I'm like, yeah, but if we're going to play 9 holes, I want you to go hit some balls first. I don't want you to just walk on the golf course without it. And she goes, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, then let's not do this. Please, let's not do this. So, but once they achieve 36 on the 9 holes at 25 yards, they do move back trying to achieve 36 at each distance.
Yep.
Is that how that works?
Yeah. So we have 10 total levels. So if you think about the belt system in karate, I think they have 12 belts. We have 10 levels. Somebody starts at 25 yards, level 1. That means every hole for 9 holes is approximately 25 yards away.
Okay.
Now, if the superintendent puts the pin like really far back, it might be 40 yards. If they puts it really far forward, it might be 15 yards, but it's about 25. Once they beat 36, it might take them 3 or 4 attempts. They go back to level 2, 50 yards to the center of the green. And then they keep moving back 100 yards, 150, 200, front tees, silver tees, all the way back to, we have 10 levels in the program. And I would say the most popular levels is people usually go 1 through 5, and then they move on to either private lessons, or they move on to PGA Junior League, or they move on to the next step. But for the first year or two, I think we do as good of a job as anybody as making that first year or two really fun for somebody and gets them hooked on the game. When they're at Christmas parties, they can tell people that they've played golf and they've shot a decent score and they've had a birdie and they've had a par. They don't have to be that guy that says, I'm horrible at golf, I shoot 150. But the interesting thing, and I'll bring it up to you, is like we do very well with juniors. We do very well with ladies. The demographic that we don't do great with, which I completely understand, is men. They don't want to start close to the hole, right? They want to be on the black tees, even if they shoot 110. But we're slowly getting inroads in the men's demographic, especially in Florida, with the older crowd that feels like maybe they don't hit it far enough to enjoy the course anymore. We're having success at facilities and getting people restarted in the game at 25 yards away, then 50, then 100, that way.
I wonder if seniors would appreciate having that opportunity. And seniors who've been playing golf a long time, you can just say, I think that was kind of the idea of play it forward. It's
100%.
like, right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
Yep, and I think the only thing that we did differently than play it forward was we expanded fast enough that we attached a number to it, but then we also could say, Fred, you're not the only person doing it. There's 80 other people here that are doing it. There's 200,000 around the country that are doing this. Like, you're not the only one. Play it forward, I think, was tough because you didn't want to be the only one moving forward. But if there's 20 people out there Saturday night, like, pace of play is awesome. Like, these folks play in an hour and 15 minutes. Like, they play fast and they get done, and then they have a meal at the course with their family. And the golf course loves it. Why? Because food and beverage goes up. Because every Saturday night, everybody wants to celebrate and eat at the course. And rounds are up at these places. And it's been fun to watch. It just really has.
So it sounds like it only works on 9-hole courses. You don't do this on 18-hole courses, and are they mostly, I can't imagine private courses, resort courses, country clubs. Some country clubs may have a 9-hole course that they can participate. Tell me the scope of what kind of courses that you get involved, and do you approach, or do they come to you?
Okay, so the course, there are 18-hole, 36-hole, 54-hole facilities that do Op36. They just do it on one of the 9 holes.
I see.
Right. So they maybe like we have 3 9-hole courses here at our facility. So maybe in the month of November, we play the orange course and the black course. Maybe the next month we play the white course and the black course. We just do 9 holes. We put markers in the fairway for folks to play from the different yardages, and they just walk up and play from those yardages. Par 3 courses do very well with Op36. Mm-hmm. Even the ones that are artificial turf, they do a very good job with Op36. Resort courses, you nailed it. That's a little bit harder for us just because the golf pro doesn't see the person more than maybe that weekend or more than a week. But our split on private versus public golf courses is stronger in private facilities, private golf courses, than it is in public currently. Why? Because public golf courses right now, for the most part, are very, very crowded. And to get beginners on the golf course or to find a teaching pro, because that's currently you can't do Op36 officially unless you do it with or through a golf professional.
Oh, of course.
So like private golf clubs, for the most part in the U.S., usually have a pretty good staff of assistant pros, teaching pros that they could run a program like this. We're running into challenges at public golf courses where maybe they just have a head pro. They don't have an assistant or a teaching pro. But we are seeing, just observing the market and as it's talking to us, that independent contractors, people that raise their hand and say, I want to teach, are starting to increase at public facilities where they'll approach a golf course and they'll say, hey, I want to run Op36. Can I pay you a revenue share of what I do? And I'll run Op36. So it'll be interesting, again, to observe how the market ebbs and flows. But mostly we're at private courses. Publics are starting to grow a little bit more. And the way that people start in Op36 is a golf professional will call us or go on the website and they'll say, hey, I want to run Op36. Our sales team will go through and give them a demo to see if it's something that they want to do. And we also have moms and dads that'll reach out to us and say, hey, I live in Spokane, Washington. My daughter really wants to get involved in the game of golf through Op36, but I look on your map and there's no facilities. Will you guys reach out to Spokane Country Club? And we'll pick up the phone and we'll say, hey, there's a family in your area that wants Op36. This probably means there's other families in your area. Can we give you a short demo of what Op36 is? And then we'll try to kind of move them along and see if it's a good fit.
Mm. And you've had success doing it that way?
Yes and no. More so when a coach is already ready to go.
Right.
Right. And we're running into this in every industry, right? We go to a restaurant, now hiring. We go to the local police department, they're hiring. Same thing in the golf industry. We're short on coaches. We're short on golf pros. So when we call up Spokane Country Club and say, hey, would you like to run the program? Sometimes these facilities go, yes, I would love to run the program. I just don't have anybody to run it.
Right.
So we've been in good talks with the PGA of America to try to figure out ways to bridge the gap on hiring and getting more people into the game as golf professionals. But certainly after COVID, that has been a challenge to find really good golf coaches. So when you do find an Op36 program that's running right now, we're pretty confident there's a really good coach who's running it.
Great. And what has the PGA of America, how have they responded to this program? They've been very, very supportive. We're PGA members, myself and Matt. And they really, Steve Tanner has been very supportive. He's the PGA Junior League director. And he really sees the light on welcome Matt, Op36. PGA Junior League is step 2. That's really helped them as well. So I would just say for the most part, on the whole, PGA of America has been
very supportive of Op 36 and helping grow the game.
Yay. Good job. Good job. So I got to believe that when you were talking about doing it at night, you have to have classes around it, that you can't do it when other golfers are on the course. You've got to pretty much dedicate that 9-hole course for Operation 36, Op 36, so it doesn't mess up with other players at the same time. Is that how that?
You could do it a couple different ways to do that. One is if you have enough players, like if you have 45 players, you can have the golf course run a shotgun for 9 holes because you're paying them greens fees. You're not asking for free golf. So the golf professional is paying for the greens fees. If they have enough players, they can block off all 9 holes. Or I would say in most cases, they just do tee times. So you'll say, hey, can I get 6 tee times? Can I get 8 tee times? And then you would send them off in groups of 3 or 4. And like I was saying earlier, the pace of play is really good. So it's not like they are being pushed by folks. They are actually pushing play a little bit, which is a great feeling to have as a beginner, that you don't have somebody behind you yelling, hey, go faster. You're actually the one that's pushing play. But there is a science, maybe it's an art, I'm not sure which word, to figuring out how to get beginners on the golf course that doesn't interrupt play, doesn't bother current players, and is also feels good for the beginner as well.
Yeah, without the pressure. There's a lot of pressure going on.
Oh, a ton of things, even down to like just driving a cart for a beginner. Like it's just different driving a golf cart. Like we've had to kind of create courses for players on driving a golf cart, getting range balls. What do you wear? What do you not wear? Like it's not like picking up a basketball at a basketball court. Like getting into golf is a little bit challenging.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's the minimum and maximum size of a group or a class?
We recommend 6 to 1. If there's 2 coaches, that would be 12 students. If it's 1, it's 6. There are some coaches that run Op 36 that only want 4 in a class. There's some that would like 8 in a class. A lot of it's dependent on the coach and how comfortable they are. But at the facility that we run here in North Carolina, we usually go 6. 6 is a great number to have, especially with the ladies. They have other people around them that enjoy doing it. You can pair up for different games you're playing. But for the weekly class, 6 is about right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
I think this is so great. So, we've done multiple episodes over the past on, people saying, hey, I want to get my kid into playing golf. What's the best way to get them started? So here's your opportunity. Make your pitch.
I would revert a little bit to the research that the majority of people that get into the game had parents that got into the game. Mm-hmm. So if you're a parent out there that doesn't play, I would join an Op 36 program to play because that would help your kid play. That would be my first suggestion. Second suggestion would be go on Amazon. We've got a book called How to Create a Junior Golfer. I think it's $7, $8. It's like an hour read, 100 pages. And we wrote it a couple of years ago based on the question that you just asked me. Like, I'm a mom. I want to get my kid into the game. What should I do? And we 8 or 9 chapters with stories of players from all around the country, little girls and boys and adults that started in the game of golf. And I think that's the easiest way to start, because then the mom feels like she knows a little bit. I think the worst scenario is she goes into the shop, the dad goes into the shop, they don't know what to expect. So if you read that book, $7, $8, that'll get you started on what is about to happen. And then if you go to our website, op36.golf, find a program. You can find a program, hopefully within your area, that runs Op 36. And if it doesn't, you can contact us and we'll reach out to the different golf courses to see. But as long as somebody's not crazy rural, like in the middle of Montana or the middle of Idaho, there's usually a golf course pretty close to where folks are that they could get started in Op 36.
And what's the name of the book again?
How to Create a Junior Golfer.
Okay.
Yep. I think I have
Great. Oh, that's okay. We'll find it, and I'll definitely put a link in the show notes to the Amazon link. And you said op36.golf, or is it operation36.golf, or is it both?
Either one will work.
Okay.
Yep, either one will work. Yep.
Well, Ryan, this is a phenomenal program. I'm very impressed, and clearly you've put a lot of thought behind it and made it work, especially with the name. Congratulations on that. I'm really glad that we were introduced to it. And I work with the First Tee on helping kids fall in love with the game and learn the life lessons. But this, I can see, I want to get my granddaughter starting to play golf.
Yeah.
My grandson, I'm like, okay, this is a great way to do it. Because, they love, I have a putting green in my backyard. And so when they come to visit, it's like, Grandpa, can we go play golf? It's like, yes, of course. Makes me cry every time they ask. But I think this is an amazing program, and I'm sorry I've not heard about it yet, but I sure am glad it's come across my table.
Well, thank you for the support.
Desk.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And if we can ever help in any way, please reach out.
Well, a message to Phil Sherb of Ely, Cambridgeshire, UK, who did our opening in today's episode. You know that you and your golf buddies are also invited to join our Golf Smarter adventure next spring, right? It doesn't matter where you listen to Golf Smarter or whether or not you're a Golf Smarter ambassador. I want you to join us for 3 great rounds on the legendary Robert Trent Jones Trail in Alabama from March 26th to the 30th in 2025. This weekend golf outing is for golfers of all skill levels, and so that we can all play together, we're keeping the size of our group manageable to only 3 foursomes. But since there's always some last-minute changes, reserve your space now. Get all the information, pricing, and itinerary at tmigolf.com/golfsmarter. That's tmigolf.com/golfsmarter. Find all our episodes at golfsmarterpodcast.com. And if you have any questions about our adventure, updates on your game, or suggestions for a new episode, please